Good morning, beloved. This is Pastor Rodney Adams, Big Calvary Baptist Church, with a moment of meditation. In John's Gospel, chapter 21, John gives the account of a moment that he had with Jesus and Peter. In verse 15, the Bible says, "So when they had dined, Jesus saith to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my lambs. He saith to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my sheep. He saith unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, Lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus saith unto him, Feed my sheep. Verily, verily, I say unto thee, when thou wast young, thou girdedst thyself, and walkest whither thou wouldest. But when thou shalt be old, thou shalt stretch forth thy hands, and another shall gird thee, and carry thee whither thou wouldest not. This spake he, signifying by what death he should glorify God. And when he had spoken this, he saith unto him, Follow me. Then Peter, turning about, seeing the disciple whom Jesus loved, following, which also leaned on his breast at supper, and said, Lord, which is he that betrayeth thee? Peter, seeing him, saith to Jesus, Lord, and what shall this man do? Jesus said unto him, If I will that he tarry till I come, what is that to thee? Follow thou me. Then went this saying abroad among the brethren, that disciple should not die. Yet Jesus said not unto him, He shall not die, but if I will that he tarry till I come, what is that to thee? Beloved, this story gives us a lesson that it is possible for tattletales, tales of extraordinary comment to go about simply because somebody wouldn't mind their business. And that's exactly what Jesus tells Peter. After telling Peter what he expected of him and what he was instructing him to do, Peter turns around and looks at John and looks at Jesus and says, What shall this man do? And Jesus says, If I will that he tarry till I come, what is that to thee? In other words, mind your own business. There is nothing more grieving for someone else to get into your business and simply be wrong. And the Bible tells us as believers, we should not be busybodies, or we should not be people who get in other folks' business, but we need to take care of our own. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 15 says, But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. Did you catch that? Listen to that roll call. Murderer, thief, evildoer, busybody. That sounds like a bad group to be a part of. Yet we would think because we're getting in other people's business that it's not really a big thing. You know, I'm very opinionated. I like to talk about things and see things. But beloved, that's a bad group to be gathered with. Let none of you suffer as a murderer, as a thief, as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 11 tells us that we need to study to be quiet and to do our own business and to work with our own hands as we commanded you. God is telling us that we shouldn't be involved in other folks' business. He's telling us that it's our job, if we see something, to pray for them, but not to get caught in their business. Proverbs chapter 5, verse 15 tells us, drink waters out of thine own cistern and running waters out of thine own well. In other words, you got enough to do in your own life. You got enough things to work out in your own life that you don't have time to get wrapped up in somebody else's business. Listen to what Matthew chapter 7, verse 1 says when Jesus begins to deal with this issue. He says, judge not that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. And with what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? Jesus said, thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. What Jesus is trying to tell us is that when we think we're seeing things clearly for someone else, we fail to see things clearly for ourselves. He's telling us, deal with yourself first. Use your eyes to examine your own life. Look over your own self and see what you need to improve before you find the right to go and begin to tell others what they need to improve. Paul says it like this in 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. Examine yourselves, whether you be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves how that Jesus Christ is in you, except ye be reprobates? When Paul tells us to prove ourselves, he uses a Greek word dokimazo. Dokimazo means test yourself, try yourself, judge your own selves. Take a look at your own selves, examine your own selves. He says the same thing in Galatians chapter 6 and verse 4. He says, but let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself and not in another. Let him dokimazo, test himself, try himself, judge his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. You see, beloved, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 8 tells us that every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. You can encourage people. You can tell people what the word says, but don't judge them. Don't get in their business. Help them by telling them what the truth is. Pray for them, but then let them work up their own salvation, because that's exactly what the word tells us to do. Philippians chapter 2 and verse 12 tells us, wherefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. He uses a Greek word katagazomai, which means work fully, accomplish, finish, perform your own salvation with fear and trembling. Beloved, mind your own business. Life is too short, and there's too much going on to be bothered in someone else's. There's enough work for us to work in our own lives before we step into someone else's. Let's do it today. It's a moment of meditation. I'm Pastor Adams. Think about it.